On a New York runway, a white model's arrogance clashed with a black woman's quiet strength. Insults and sabotage couldn't break her, but a stunning revelation after the show left the crowd in shock and her rival humiliated. What happened next will surprise even the most hardened. Let's start at the beginning. The air inside the venue was electric, buzzing with the anticipation of fashion editors, influencers, and industry insiders awaiting the show's commencement. The runway gleamed under spotlights, reflecting the opulence of New York City's biggest night in fashion. Models clad in avant-garde designs exuded an aura of glamour and drama as they prepared to bring the designer's vision to life. Among them was Celeste McAdams, a 23-year-old white model whose face graced countless magazines. With her cascading blonde hair, alabaster skin, and striking green eyes, she was often described as otherworldly. Her ethereal beauty was rivaled only by her sharp tongue. Celeste was infamous backstage for her biting comments and imperious attitude. Tonight, draped in a flowing silver gown that shimmered with every step, she epitomized elegance, but her demeanor betrayed a darker edge. Her chin tilted high, a knowing smirk played on her lips, as if the runway were her exclusive domain. Walking 2 steps behind her was Amara Davis, a 28-year-old black model whose radiant confidence turned heads. Tall and statuesque, Amara's rich ebony skin and high cheekbones gave her an undeniable presence. She walked with a poise that suggested years of hard work, resilience, and the quiet determination of someone who had earned her place in an unforgiving industry. For Amara, this show was more than just another gig. It was a symbol of triumph in a world where doors were not easily opened to women who looked like her. From the moment Celeste spotted Amara during rehearsals, her sharp tongue was set loose. She nudged a fellow model and whispered, loud enough to be overheard, "Who let her in here? She looks like she belongs in the audience, not up here." Her words dripped with contempt, her laughter ringing out in the otherwise busy backstage. Amara, adjusting the hem of her dress, paused for only a second. Her deep brown eyes flickered with recognition, but she remained silent. Instead, she straightened her shoulders, adjusted her posture, and resumed preparations with the same grace that had carried her through her career. As the models lined up backstage for the opening sequence, Celeste couldn't resist another jab. Let's hope she doesn't trip over her gown. It'd be such a shame if the designer's work ended up on the floor, she muttered to her friend, smirking. Amara heard every word but refused to engage. Her strategy was clear. Let the walk speak louder than the words. When the show began, the runway transformed into a battlefield of presence and charisma. Celeste sauntered out, her movements languid, exuding the arrogance of a reigning queen. But when Amara followed, her confident stride, glowing skin, and commanding aura made the audience sit up straighter. Photographers clicked furiously, captivated by her composure and undeniable star power. Backstage, Celeste's smirk faltered. The whispers about Amara had started, but they weren't what Celeste had hoped for. Amara had stolen the spotlight, not with words, but with unshakable elegance. As the finale drew near, the atmosphere backstage turned tense, thick with a silent undercurrent of competition. Models gathered in their final, most extravagant looks, adjusting gowns, jewelry, and headpieces, while assistants flitted around to ensure perfection. Celeste McAdams stood at the front of the line, her silver gown flowing like liquid moonlight, a smirk playing on her lips. She was basking in her assumed dominance, though her emerald eyes betrayed a flicker of irritation. Amara Davis, in a bold crimson ensemble that shimmered like embers, was positioned just behind her. Despite the frenetic energy around them, Amara's face remained calm, her posture impeccable. If she noticed the envious glances from Celeste, or overheard the murmured compliments from the crew about her performance, she didn't show it. She simply adjusted the train of her gown and waited for her cue. The show reached its climax, the models taking their final choreographed walk in a synchronized display of elegance. Celeste led the group onto the runway, her head held high, her strides deliberate. The audience applauded politely, but there was a notable shift in energy when Amara followed. Her walk was magnetic, her piercing gaze connecting with the crowd. The camera flashes intensified, and murmurs rippled through the audience, as if everyone collectively recognized that something special was unfolding. Celeste could feel it. She didn't need to look back to know that Amara was stealing the spotlight, her commanding presence drawing every eye in the room. A wave of resentment surged through her. As they neared the runway's edge for the finale pose, Celeste, unable to stomach the attention Amara was receiving, made her move. With a slight turn of her shoulder, she intentionally brushed against Amara, her elbow catching just enough of Amara's arm to disrupt her balance. Amara stumbled, the fabric of her gown twisting awkwardly as she fought to steady herself. The audience collectively gasped, the sharp intake of breath audible even over the music. Celeste's lips curled into a satisfied smirk as she held her pose, pretending not to notice the chaos she had caused. But Amara, ever composed, quickly regained her footing. She straightened her gown with a graceful flick of her wrist, then continued her walk as if nothing had happened. The audience erupted into applause, the kind reserved for someone who has turned a challenge into a triumph. Backstage, the models gathered to debrief, their glittering gowns replaced with robes as they sipped water and exchanged compliments. Celeste, unable to contain herself, spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Maybe next time they'll leave the amateurs at home," she said, her voice laced with mockery. Amara turned her head, her dark eyes locking onto Celeste's with an intensity that silenced the room. She didn't speak. Instead, her poised expression delivered the message. "You're not worth my words." Celeste's smirk faltered slightly, the weight of Amara's silent confidence landing harder than any retort could have. While others watched with a mix of unease and admiration for Amara, she simply gathered her belongings and exited, her head held high. The room buzzed, but Amara had said all she needed to without uttering a single word. The press event was an extension of the show's glitz and glamour. Photographers clicked away incessantly as models posed against a backdrop emblazoned with the designer's logo. Lights flashed, champagne glasses clinked, and the room hummed with the chatter of journalists eager for sound bites from the evening's stars. Celeste McAdams basked in the attention as she struck a practiced pose, her silver gown catching the light. The smug confidence she wore like a second skin hadn't faltered since her calculated stunt on the runway. Nearby, Amara Davis stood with quiet poise, her crimson gown exuding elegance as she engaged politely with a journalist asking about her experience. While Celeste thrived on superficial compliments, Amara's grace drew admiration that felt genuine. The contrast between the two couldn't have been more striking. As the event's host, a senior executive known for his deep ties to the industry, stepped forward with a microphone, the chatter died down. His gaze swept across the room before settling on Amara. "Amara," he began, his voice warm, "would you like to share a few words about tonight's show? Your presence on the runway was extraordinary." All eyes turned to Amara as she took a step forward, her smile radiant yet composed. "Thank you," she began, her voice smooth and confident. "This show was special to me, not just as a model, but as someone who believes in creating opportunities for new talent. Fashion is about celebrating diversity and innovation, and I'm proud to be part of an industry that can drive change. There was a moment of appreciative applause, but it was what Amara said next that left the room stunned. As CEO of Horizon Modeling Agency, she continued, her tone unwavering, I am always inspired to see fresh faces on the runway. Tonight was a testament to the hard work and talent that defines this industry. For a heartbeat, there was silence. The weight of her words hung in the air before the crowd fully registered what she had said. Whispers spread like wildfire, a ripple of realization coursing through the room. Amara Davis, the model Celeste had openly mocked and subtly undermined, was not just another model. She was the CEO of one of the most influential modeling agencies in the business. Celeste's smirk froze in place, quickly replaced by a mask of horror. Her carefully crafted composure cracked as her eyes darted to Amara, then to the audience. The whispers grew louder, blending astonishment with amusement. Photographers shifted their focus to Amara, their flashes capturing her serene expression. As Amara stepped back, her graceful smile unwavering, Celeste stood rooted to the spot, her mind reeling. She had spent the evening belittling a woman who not only outranked her, but could influence her entire career. Amara didn't look at Celeste again, as if the younger model no longer existed in her world. The event continued, but Celeste remained a shadow of her former self, consumed by the magnitude of her blunder. Meanwhile, Amara engaged with journalists and industry figures, her words and presence solidifying her reputation as a leader in every sense. If Celeste had hoped to shine tonight, Amara had effortlessly eclipsed her, and the world was watching. Over the next week, Celeste's comments and actions were leaked to social media, sparking outrage. She issued a public apology, but her reputation took a massive hit. Meanwhile, Amara became a symbol of grace and professionalism, using her platform to advocate for diversity in fashion. As Celeste's opportunities dwindled, Amara's agency flourished. Months later, when Celeste applied to Horizon for representation, Amara declined her application with the same calm smile she had worn that fateful evening.